have a very exciting guest who, of course, I've come across on LinkedIn, and I'm a bit of a stalker. I saw her like 2 to 3 months ago on like LinkedIn. I was like, she's interesting. Like, she's got like amazing journey, like someone I can look up to. And then to have her here today with me, yeah, I'm gobsmacked. I need to go into the introduction, because when you see her, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So she is an award-winning water, sanitation and hygiene activist who's made waves on the global stage. And again, you've seen her. I'm sure you've seen her, because I know I have. And she's come all the way from Bangladesh, but obviously she's now based in the UK. She's working very hard. You know, she's working on so many projects. She's based everywhere. She has no certain address, I'm sure. But she's a passionate youth leader, a powerful voice for change, and of course a true force when it comes to community impact. And like I said in the first segment, it's what you do for the community, and these are the things that stay with us. It's not the money, it's not, you know, sometimes the things that you give out to your friends. It's the messages that you send, the community work that you do, and her work is going to stay with us for the rest of our lives, and if not our lives, the community after that. And I'm so incredibly proud to welcome on the show today, Shomy Hasan Chowdhury. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
You're very kind. No. I mean, I can say your titles, but like I said, there's so many. I'll start with a few. Okay, guys, I'll just start with a few. She is Forbes 30 under 30, okay? She is also the Diana Legacy Award judge, okay? She's also she's co-founded Awareness 360. Now, that's just 3 of the titles that she's got. She's got more, okay? But I'm going to hear from her now, because I know I'm going to be a fangirl and not shut up. So I will move on to you. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you.
So, now you're based in the UK, from what I understand. And how are you finding it here?
It's good. I'm still adjusting to the weather, but
the weather is a big one.
Yeah, thank God summer is here.
Yeah. You're very lucky.
Yes, it's a lovely city. London is so diverse. There's a big Bangladeshi community here.
Yes, a big one. Yay! We're here to support our fellow Bangladeshi members. I know I'm from Bangladesh. Of course, I'm so happy to have you from here.
Yeah.
But before I go into a video, because I have prepared a clip, because we know the audience want to know more about you. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
So I am a WASH activist. WASH is an acronym that stands for Water, Sanitation and Hygiene. I started my WASH activism about 11 years ago.
Yes.
And through my nonprofit Awareness 360, I have been doing different WASH-related work, which is, there are different fronts in terms of that work, but one is at the very grassroots level. So I've worked with different underprivileged communities to provide them with access to clean water and sanitation, organizing different awareness campaigns, for example, hand washing campaigns, menstrual hygiene campaigns, and so on. And the other one is on the advocacy side, where I try to bridge between the two, so the grassroots level and the absolute decision makers, to share the reality of the ground and why they should invest more in WASH.
Amazing. And now, that being said, of course, we have a video for you to watch, because I know that background is going to really help this interview, because I've got so much to ask. Watch that video and come back. See you later.
1,000 people die from diarrhea every year in Bangladesh. It's easy to see that as just a number. When I tell them my mom died from it, it connects. I grew up seeing my dad doing different kinds of events and voluntary work, and that really inspired me to give back to my community. During my senior year of high school, I went to the US under an exchange program, and we were required to do 40 hours of community service, but I ended up doing 460 hours. As a result of that volunteer work, I was recognized by President Obama. That was a very defining moment for me. That's when I started thinking about how can I bring those efforts back to my home country. So in 2014, 14th of April, which is the Bengali New Year's Day, I lost my mother to diarrhea. She was sick for only 1 day. She went to work even the day before, and the next day she was dead. And that was a huge shock for me. 4 days after my mother's death, I gave my first hand washing and hygiene talk, educating 3,000 sewage workers. The more I was doing my work, the more I realized that we needed to do even more. I co-founded Awareness 360 to confront all sorts of issues around the world. Now, 6 years later, we are a big family of 1,500 young people. We are working across 23 countries, and our projects have benefited over 150,000 people. Young people do have the power to take on these goals. We just need to give them the right resources and skills.
What an amazing clip. I mean, that's only a segment of what you've done so far. I know I have so much to cover for this segment, and I know the time's so short as well. But I think I'll start with, what were some of the challenges you faced at first when you started your activism? Because I know, of course, your mother passed away when you were quite young. So what was that effect on you?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, obviously I never planned to become a WASH activist. It was very accidental. It wasn't even a term that I knew.
No, of course.
And when that incident happened, of course, after losing the most important person in my life, it was kind of a wake-up call to just understand how WASH can play an important role in saving lives.
Yes.
And I come from a privileged background. I never had issues in terms of access to water,
Yes.
sanitation, and so on. Yet this tragedy happened, and so I was then thinking that if this can happen to my family, what about all those other communities who don't have access to basic water, basic sanitation, basic awareness around these issues? And to me, it felt like, I mean, of course, my family, my relatives, they were telling me, take some time to grieve, you know. But I felt like if I wait one more day, maybe someone else will lose their mom or loved person.
And more power to you. I mean, you did your first speech at 4 days later. I mean, incredible.
But as you can imagine, it was very difficult to, hold a microphone, speak in front of hundreds of people. Because for me personally, the pain is very new, very raw. I'm still processing those emotions. But at the same time, I think that moment also was a realization regarding the incredible power of storytelling and how people can connect with one another more through stories than through numbers. Like, I can give you tons of stats about WASH, but you'll probably not even remember it after this interview. But maybe my story is something that will touch you, and you will probably realize, okay, it's actually an important cause and people are losing their loved ones. So that's when I felt like this is my true calling and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that's how it all started. But eventually, when I co-founded the organization Awareness 360 with my best friend, his name is Rijvi Arifin. He's also a very proud Bangladeshi.
Yay.
He's based in Dhaka now. When we started this organization, we didn't want to restrict our work within WASH only, because we felt like we both had different passions, right? And we were like, yes, maybe there are other young people who want to do something that they care about a cause. And that's why, hence the name Awareness 360. Yes. We wanted to cover sort of a 360 kind of causes. And since then, we've been working with thousands of young people. The video that was shown just now is 5 years old, so the stats are actually...
I'm sure they're very different.
So right now we run a fellowship program with young people. So far we've empowered over 50,000 youths from 74 plus countries. And through our projects, we have directly benefited over 3 million people on all sorts of causes, not just WASH, but also climate, gender, education, and so on. And the challenges have been different in the last 11 years. It's been, well, of course, fundraising, funding is a consistent challenge for NGOs. The other one is the kind of issues we work. These are very sensitive, right? When I go to a brothel to talk to a group of sex workers, to talk to them about anything, right? Like just getting that access is very difficult. So there have been different challenges based on the project we have been doing. Burnout issues. We had COVID, and it's just
COVID must have been a horrible situation.
There's been different challenges. Some we have overcome, some we're still struggling to overcome, but the work goes on. Still a long way to go.
No, but inshallah, it's going to be amazing. But I think for me, what's really important is understanding how you navigate this system now, because you're here now. So I know Zoom, Teams, it makes life a lot easier, but with the community we have, at least in Bangladesh, it's a lot more difficult to access sort of technology. So how do you tackle that?
Yeah, thankfully, I'm not the only one in the organization. So I have a very trustworthy team. We're a remote team of 15 people, which is our core staff team. And our programs are basically the fellowship, for example, I was talking about. It's a 6-month program. The first 4 months is virtual. So even earlier today, I was on Zoom call. So every weekend we have Zoom calls.
Very busy.
We are training, bringing different world-class expert speakers. They're training these young people. So in this cohort, we have 500 participants from 74 countries, including different conflict zones like Palestine, Afghanistan, Sudan, etc. So they've been learning about different topics, so starting from leadership, project management, impact measurement, and so on. And then after these 4 months, the next part of the fellowship is where they will actually do a project themselves, taking ownership of that project. So they will be the leader, they will recruit volunteers. And of course, in many of these countries, we already have existing members, we have country ambassadors. So they will provide them with that support of in-person support. And we also do different partnerships with local organizations as well. So in Bangladesh, we have a big team, we have an office. So that team basically takes care of the in-person components. And I help my team to supervise or oversee the virtual component.
I am in awe. I don't think you guys can see it on my face. I am in awe because, wow, that is incredible. Like I use the word incredible, but I'm not sure there is a word for it because, wow, I'm overwhelmed with joy. That is so much.
You.
So, I mean, wow, okay. What are some of the solutions that we can build within our community itself? Like, what's something that a young person can do if they have a thought? How can they action that thought?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to study. There is no alternative to education, and I think, like the previous speaker was mentioning, that we have so much access to information that it can be even overwhelming.
Yes.
So I think we need to utilize that, right? So if a young person has an idea, if a young person is feeling passionate about a certain cause, it's important to study first, to do a community mapping. I think one of the issues right now is there are too many NGOs, too many people working on the same thing, right? So there's a lot of duplication of efforts. And the other thing is when we talk about success, I think the parameters of success are sometimes focused too much on awards, on the titles and things like that. So I think we need to step away from it. Not everyone has to found something. Not everyone has to be the CEO, right? If there is an existing organization, we can help them. We can join forces, bring your idea there. But of course, if you feel like, no, there is something brand new, that you have a brilliant idea that you want to test, start small. The other thing is we feel like, oh, we need to, impact whatever, like 100,000 people in the first year or something like that. We said, yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. We can, like how we started Awareness 360, it was just like me, my best friend, right? And then eventually it grew to, now it's a huge global family. And we have failed in so many instances, so many projects were unsuccessful, right? So I think it's important that you study the topic, the cause, what is the work that is already being done? Can you join forces with them? And if not, build a good team. I think having a team is so important, both for our mental health and well-being as a support system. And the other thing is you yourself may not know everything. I think that's the reality. So it's important to find the right people to work with complementary skill sets.
Of course. And when we look into working with a team, sometimes, of course, now you're here and you have a great team. But for someone who's starting, how do they find that team? How do they tackle those sort of issues abroad? Like if I was to start, let's say, an NGO in Bangladesh right now, I'm not based there. So I need to be there. I need to do the community mapping, as you said. I need to understand who I'm working with, what type of people I'm working with. But how do you actually get people to do the work and help you, do something like this?
Yeah, that's the thing. So we need to, when we talk about finding a team member, it's important to find people that have a shared passion, a shared vision, right? And that's when you can even start that conversation. And then comes the logistics. If there are people, it depends on what you want to do. But I think with social media, it's now much easier to do things in terms of reaching out to people. If you see that an organization is doing something with a certain community that you want to maybe address that same community but a different cause, you can always partner with them, right? And then the skill set, the timing, the values, the way of work, will it match with you or not? And then of course there needs to be some kind of compromise, but I think that's where passion comes into play. If a group of people are really passionate about something, I think then is when they will be willing to make those compromises here and there. So I think finding the right people can be hard, but at the same time now we have so many other tools to leverage them and to find those connections. You can even like post a story on Instagram and say, hey, I have this idea, I want to do this book drive or whatever, right? Can you help me? Or who is interested? And then you see response, you do interviews, you talk to them, and you see who you vibe with, right? So
amazing. I think I'll be doing that. Wow. I'm learning so much on this show today. You can't believe it. Other than that, because this might be the final question, because I know we have so much to talk about. I think after the show I will be catching up with you. How does someone like yourself, who's an activist, a leader, and of course you've got so many other titles, I'm sure you wear so many hats in your life, how do you handle so many responsibilities?
I struggle to handle responsibilities, honestly. And this is something, I think a similar question was asked once to Michelle Obama, if I remember that interview correctly, where she said something along the lines of, you can never be perfect in everything that you're managing.
Yes.
If you're wearing one hat, then you can't wear the other hat. Like, you
yes.
have only one head, right?
Yeah.
So if she's doing well in her family life, then maybe her work is being compromised. So, and it's the same with all of us, I feel like. But at the end of the day, I think what I try to do is I'm trying to set more boundaries in my life now. I'm trying to say no to more opportunities. Last year, for example, I was traveling like absolutely crazy, and it was impacting my physical health, my mental health, and it was just too much. And I think it's important to prioritize our health, just taking a break, right? So I think for me, I try to delegate tasks, which can also be challenging as a leader.
A true leader. That's
but
what I was going to
it
say.
can also be challenging. For me, for example, when I moved to London, I was worried about what will happen to Awareness 360, honestly. Like, it's like my baby, right? But then I need to trust my team with it, and they're amazing, right? And the other thing is to have that humility in you, that you may not, maybe, yes, I have founded Awareness 360, but doesn't mean that I am the right person to lead the organization. It's important to also allow others to take up leadership positions. So I think now I'm delegating more. If I don't like certain things, I express that, okay, I think this is better versus this, and this is my reasoning. But then I also try to listen to their opinion, which is also important. And what I always try to remember is that no matter what we're doing, whether we're going for investor A versus B, if we're having a conflict, at the end of the day, we both want the better decision for that organization that we're both serving, right? So I think having that mindset is important, so that you can allow others to take decisions, to take ownership. Sure. I think only then, I don't want people to know Awareness 360 only by me or by Rijvi. I want that legacy to go on, right? If I'm not there in the picture tomorrow, I still want Awareness 360 to continue the work that it's doing.
Inshallah. No, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.